How you doing, YouTube? This is Stash coming at you with another weird YouTube vlog. Another weird YouTube vlog. I said after I did my Gus Weiss one that I would talk about the next night, but I didn't get on and try to do it, about what I thought was a brief point that I wanted to make about a cool similarity between the assertions of the occultist Kenneth Grant in a number of his books about the atomic bomb and esoteric and the occult and magic stuff, which is kind of creepy, and the Twin Peaks, the second installment. I'm not a film school person, but I think kind of the central thing was or one of the other parts was that the can't talk tonight. The atomic bomb as an occult event. Arthur C. Clarke says science is indistinguishable between the magic, and David Lynch seems to give off ideas that he knows about magic and with his filmmaking. So there is that scene in the second installment of within the atomic bomb. There's some entities arrive out of the explosion, so it's pretty wild. The tall, bald, giant guy is in a room, and the Japanese woman, I think she's without eyes and whatnot. It's kind of creepy. But the Bob evil entity travels into this existence, into this plane from the atomic weapon, almost like I think they put his head in the smoke of it or whatever. And you know, I think the character Agent Cooper is trapped in another dimension, and there's an idea that the atomic weapon explosion, it rips the fabric of one world into this world, another existence into another. And Grant talks about that the atomic testing attracted shades. The shades come in for another dimension. You know, whether or not it's real and this occultism is real, and you do these rites and you summon these, or it's art, or it's a little bit of both, or it's I think is up for debate, actually, in some senses. Or some people just say that's it, it's real. And if as I mentioned in another one of my vlogs, the fascinating work of James Shelby Downard, which would be kind of the king of the esoteric conspiracy theory world. He's a lot of guys based their work on him, I think, or influenced by him, or talks about American Magic and the Trinity site, Truth and Consequences, New Mexico, and the Jumbo. I was joking around about that online a long time ago with a guy, Adam Gorightly, because he wrote a book about James Shelby Downard. I'm really rambling, sorry, but my point is sort of simplistic, and Gorightly and James Shelby Downard and others kind of either jokingly or not jokingly refer to this Jumbo, which was this huge container that the government brought out during the testing, and then they blasted the hell out of it for some reason, the Jumbo, and it's just a huge metal thing. Why they would do that, I don't know. In some of his works, Downard, James Shelby Downard, I'll leave his stuff in the liner notes because I'm kind of blurry or tonight talking about this. I'm all over the place, but he talks about that the jumbo when they were doing the explosion, they were trying to make a homunculus, a magic person, magic man. Maybe that didn't have anything to do with it, but it was really weird that they would truck that thing out there. There's some pictures of it, this massive giant cylinder. And so I'm wondering if Lynch himself knows about this stuff from some way, or did he just read the works of Kenneth Grant or whatever, or what happens when you use atomic weapons like that. On a very real sense, it's not good with the effect on the nature and the world, the huge explosion, the radiation. What can come good of it? It's pretty nasty, and what changes were made, and it's a really cool concept that he's saying. Well, it attracts negative entities, shades, I think he calls them, get drawn to when they do the explosion. And then Lynch had that really cool scene of the massive atomic explosion, and the guy comes in. It's creepy. It's a very kind of cool concept, but it's creepy. And again, the science writer Arthur C. Clarke did say that, so people are like, well, there's no such thing as magic, there's only science, and he's just saying people they use the word magic before they understand it, then they say science. It's indistinguishable. He says that, and I think the without spoiling it too much, I'm not even coherent on it anyway, but without spoiling it too much, there's also those guys, the workers that got blown away, I think, in Lynch's film, and they become transformed by the atomic explosion, and then they're attacking people. The guy's repeating, "You must go to the well, and come to the water," or something like that. Or were they entities that came into the guys? That wasn't really clear to me. The muddy guys. Anybody in the liner notes, if you're a film student or you watch this installment of Lynch, if you know the one I'm talking about. I'm more interested in that certain chapters of the books that Grant was talking about seem to really match David Lynch's theory of the atomic bomb opening up, letting energies in, disrupting things, and he really kind of showed that with the Bob from the earlier installments of Lynch's Twin Peaks comes through the atomic explosion. I thought that was really cool. And then when the people in the other dimension there, they seem to be it seems to be in a slower state. And it corresponds some way to the way the character of Cooper comes back from the other dimension. The machine there, the glass cylinder. Sorry, I'm all over the place on this. The one where he can come and enter, and I think correct me, anybody, if you want to go down and to the notes to correct me or not. I think the Cooper character gets back through that dimension by getting electrocuted or going through the socket or whatever, and so those are like passing through these worlds. And maybe way far off the topic, but it a little reminds me of the Tao of physics, where the yogis, um, or the Taoist masters, with their meditation and yoga, kind of cross into the physicist work. They meet at a certain point. So that's why you could say, well, that's all superstition, and magic is all superstition, and yoga and Taoist training and qigong and yoga and all that have nothing to do with science. Well, that one scientist in the Tao of physics brought that through. You could say science has nothing to do with magic, but the artist Lynch and the artist or occultist Grant, definitely their work coincided in that pop television show Twin Peaks, which I thought was cool. You could say atomic bomb testing or magical working. It's rumored that Parsons or rather L. Ron Hubbard and Crowley did a Babylon working, and Parsons definitely engaged in it to the point where, well, he was a rocket scientist and he blew himself up messing around with explosives. But the occultists like Crowley say, well, I warned him, he was working on magical rites. So it's kind of like, probably 99% of this is what I'm intrigued by, is artist theme. Like the idea of the shades come in when you do the atomic bomb, but it's a little bit of a feeling of a warning that we never should have, or humanity should have never messed around with those atomic weapons. Could be a metaphorical way of saying, don't mess with them. You let the shades in. Within reality, you're messing with those weapons. We could become extinct, and it's already caused untold horrors in Hiroshima and Nagasaki. Yeah, I'm drifting. What does anybody think about this? Somebody get back to me on this weird topic. Nobody hit me up on the Gus Weiss. Which was my last one. But I'm just getting used to this vlogging. Which you should have your thing together. Especially if you have a complicated topic like shades and ripped in the fabric of another dimension due to the testing of atomic weapons. The over-testing of atomic weapons probably has probably had a worldwide effect due to the radiation as well. I don't even really think there's been clear studies of it. Las Vegas is weird, right? Truth and Consequences, New Mexico, the Trinity site, the location of the atomic weapons, the testing of it. In the occult world, people like Downard and others regard these as magical rites almost. And like he writes, the atomic bomb, they say that the moon landing also was a rite that was done, and that has been discussed as well. Different Masonic rites have been done on the moon, and that's another. So these things, on the face of it, they're science, but they do. There is people who, it seems, there's a lot of clues that people involved in occultism, with the esoteric world, they're not really being forthright about it. It's I believe it's the mixing of the matter of when they removed it from the moon and whatnot. And I believe there's been ceremonies where they've jettisoned things towards the sun, but I'm really not clear on that. But definitely, it's been reported. You know, all the foremost astronauts who went to the moon, I believe a significant number were involved heavily in Freemasonry. And the Trinity site, the location of the bomb, is significant, as well as the killing of the king, right? King Kill 33 of Martin Luther King, Bobby Kennedy, and John F. Kennedy. So definitely the testing of the atomic bomb could be regarded as a public psychodrama, just as the moon landing, and just as these very public and very significant assassinations at Dealey Plaza, what he calls the killing of the king, right? I'm really drifting, but I'm going to still post this because I'm interested in what people think of this Lynch's clear, focused in the second installment of the Twin Peaks with the atomic bomb releasing entities from another place, in this case Bob, the bearded guy Bob, coming out, and Grant's discussion of this attracting the explosion kind of attracting shades from other dimensions. Who knows? He sort of says different rites Crowley did, had significance in history. Who knows? In a lot of certain senses, sometimes I think these guys are just artists. I know Kenneth Grant in particular, puts a lot of stock in H.P. Lovecraft, the wonderful, horror writer. But he says, well, no, he was, whether he knew it or not, or he did deliberately, he was an occultist, and he was a high-level occultist, and he was doing magic. I don't know. It's art, or art is art magic. How much of science, art, and magic are intertwined? And was it really good for humanity to be testing bombs? Testing a lot of bombs all over the place. Alright, that's enough for me. I hope this was lucid enough. Again, just what I'm getting from what I'm saying is it's very interesting that there's definitely some clues that occultists were interested in, and even a part of the moon landing and the atomic bomb testing, and a lot of significant symbols kind of back that up. Although, of course, like many of these things, it's not quite stated out front, in your face to the public. Alright, I hope you got anything out of this one, and hope you're enjoying the Stash's vlogs. I'm going to try to make a playlist that just have mine if anybody digs these. Alright? Take care. This has been Stash's vlog.